We are excited to be joined by Paul Goodenough on Zoom, all the way from the UK, and along with Shanali Pereira for an inspiring session on how stories connect with people in ways that science can't. Paul is an award-winning storyteller, an entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience in the environmental, charity, peace building, and entertainment sectors. In 2019, he co-founded Rewriting Earth, a charity that uses storytelling through comics and videos to raise awareness of the climate and biodiversity crises. Paul has worked with over 300 celebrities, comic artists, and experts to create impactful environmental stories for mainstream audiences. Shanali is a storyteller, writer, artist, and social design facilitator with a deep passion for using creative approaches to engage communities in meaningful conversations around environmental and social issues.
Give you little guys a bit of a background on what I do and what I'd like to do today with you guys is I try and act as almost like a climate translator to take things that we all know inside the bubble in the world of conservationism and environmentalism, and then find a way to translate it to the people who don't know or don't care. So I create videos, campaigns, works of art, story, all sorts of stuff, whatever the audience basically needs to have a change of heart. So what I'd like you all to do is just in the back of your heads, while I'm talking for the next sort of 10 or 20 minutes, think about any problems that you might have that you might want to share with the group and me, and we'll try and workshop it live. So yes, if you've got something that you're planning or some message that's not getting through, just keep that in the back of your head, because we'll try and do that live today. So first thing I was going to do is quickly show you some of the stuff that I've done and also show you a little bit about how I do things. Can somebody let me know if the Wi-Fi is not working well enough for you to see what I'm sharing? So, first thing I was going to do is quickly show you some of the work that I've done on social media. So a lot of what I do tends to go on social media. The reason being is that it has 2 great advantages for me. One, it really makes you distill down what you're trying to say to the smallest, most powerful erg of an idea that you can have. The other side of things is it's completely free to entry. There's no barrier. So admittedly, some people aren't on social media, of course, but the vast majority of people are. And most of the people who aren't involved in environmentalism most definitely are. And what you can do with social media, you can also do targeting, where you actually say, I want this language or type of person to receive the content that I'm creating. By the way, if anyone's got any questions at any point in time, I've got a little video camera here on your left, I believe. And if you want to just raise your hand or shout or anything you want to do, really, because I'm just completely here to help. So I'm going to quickly share my screen, if no one minds, and just show a couple of examples. Now, it would be really helpful if someone can let me know if this is streaming okay. If not, what I'll do is I'll put it in the chat window, and hopefully the tech person there can show you your end rather than mine. Okay, so this is my Instagram. So some of you may have seen some of the work I've done before in the past. I've done quite a lot of work collaborating with people and taking their ideas and then turning it into things. Those things are generally bits of content, but it could be campaigns, it could be all sorts of stuff. So some of you may have seen these already. So again, apologies if you've seen it already, but luckily they're only short. So if you don't have long to kind of keep your interest level. So I'm just going to quickly start with a video I really enjoy, which is Oblivia Coal Mine.
My name is Oblivia Coalmine, and on behalf of the fossil fuel industries, I would like to say a huge thank you for all your support this bumper year. People like you have pumped billions of your hard-earned pounds into our gas and oil businesses. The cash from your pensions has helped us dig, drill and destroy more of the planet than ever before. We've even managed to build a few little wind turbines to keep Greta and her chums happy. Cute. You see, every little drop from your precious nest egg adds up. So while the global temperature may go up a teensy-weensy degree or two, our profits are literally soaring. And that's all thanks to you. So to guarantee us all a warmer, snugglier future, please keep sending your pensions our way. You know the drill. Oh, fracking hell!
So hopefully it made someone smile, at least in the audience. Thank you, very sweet. And I want to show you another video from exactly the same campaign to show how you can target things to different audiences. So that audience there was designed to hit somebody in the kind of the more middle class, affluent areas, maybe right into higher classes of kind of financial income in the UK, and letting them know that their money, their quite substantial amount of money, was actually being used to do harm to the planet without their knowledge. Now, this is exactly the same campaign, but for a different audience. I'm going to quickly show you that one, and hopefully you enjoy it as well.
Hello, this is Jane Goodall. When I think about the Jane in that film, I feel sad and very, very angry. For years, she saved up to fulfill her dream, to visit the beautiful rainforest of Sumatra. But then when finally she got there, she found it devastated by investment from her own pension company. It's truly terrible how much of our money is used in ways that we would never even think of. I urge all pension providers out there to remove completely any projects involving deforestation from their portfolios, and instead invest in projects that help to protect and restore the beautiful places of our planet for future generations.
So hopefully you can see that that is the same campaign. Oh, thank you guys. And the same messaging, but a different audience. So what I try and do when I'm making campaigns and projects and ideas is try and find the underlying emotion that will help people connect. So for example, if I told you that 1 billion seabirds a year are affected by plastic pollution in the water, that may not hit you because it's a stat. It doesn't have any emotional resonance. But if I told a story about how an albatross mother had a sick chick and the only food that she could find to feed her chick is plastic waste, so she keeps trying to save her chick by giving it more and more plastic waste to eat, and slowly accidentally kills her child, that hits completely differently because you can empathize, you can relate to the story. So in the first one there, Oblivia Coal Mine, that was using humor and celebrity to raise awareness. The second video was designed to make people think about what are they saving for and what will their savings be used for. And the second one was much more aimed at a female audience and a slightly older female audience. And the first one was aimed more at a generally male audience. Same piece of content, same general idea, but very different takes on it. So I'm going to quickly also show a little bit about audiences and how kind of I and we operate, because I think it might hopefully help. And then we can do some ideas, some brainstorming. Very quickly, because I can't actually see what you guys see, how did that video actually come through for you? Were you able to watch it pretty well? Or is it quite juddery or? Great, perfect. Super duper. Right, on to the next thing then. So when I get given a project, or when I decide to take on a project, the first thing I try and do is think about and empathize. Really, really big thing for me. Empathize who the audience is. When, like us, we sit in environmentalism, it's very easy to other everyone who isn't in there, because we think we're doing so much, and we are. We are, all of us, just doing everything we can for the planet, and then we see people who aren't, and it's bonkers to us. We were like, why are you not doing more? But there will always be a reason. And so what I try and do is understand that person, understand their reason, what's stopping them from acting. And then if you can understand that and empathize them and actually truly understand them, you can hopefully do a lot more to reach them. So this is some audience work I did for a project, and I'm going to take you through step by step how we got from the idea to the final conclusion. That sounds very, very serious, the final conclusion. Anyway, to the end of the campaign, let's put it that way. So this was a UK focused project, and particularly we found that there was about 74% of the audience that wasn't engaging in climate matters. Principally, there was two types of people, one of which was the loyal nationalists, people who were very proud to be Scottish, Welsh, English, British. The other was backbone conservatives, which is people who felt the world was better before, and they wanted to pass on to their children the same life and the same experiences that they enjoyed. So those were our two key audience. So what we did is we went out and started talking to people. And we can see here, so I did a little bit of research with my team, and we can see that, for example, that the loyal nationals is 23% of the population, and 84% of them thought that climate change was important, and particularly that was around nature. So what we did from that, and I'm realizing it's probably a little bit small, so I'm just going to kind of very quickly walk you through it. With persona work, what you do is you talk to many people, and then from that you build a persona that is kind of shared traits between the people who are representative of the audience you want. So this one was Forgotten Fern, who was bar worker, expectant dad soon, and was used to being cast as the villain in media. So he was very aware that he lived the weekend, he drank quite a lot, and he went out with his mates, and everyone he knew was in basically walking distance of his house. But he cared, he really, really cared about making the world better, but he didn't want to speak out. And he also felt that in his experience, media, politics, everything seemed to be promoting different cultures than his own. He would often see, for example, that competitions would be designed to help people with maybe disabilities, or maybe they've got different gender, or they've got different backgrounds. And his feeling was, there's nothing ever for me. I'm the forgotten class. And that's why this person was called Forgotten Fern. And so what we then did is we basically worked out kind of what things Fern really cared about and what things were triggers. And interestingly, and probably not surprisingly, anything to do with international and national was quite a turn-off. I don't know if you can see it up here, but you've got little blue dots that show how they respond to things. So for Fern, he always felt that everything was about somebody else. So international issues were a turn-off because it was like another example, another bit of evidence that no one cares about him. Once you get to looking at the empathy, you can see that actually talking about things like international problems actually was triggering, because it brought back the hurt. And then if we go down to how Fern views news and media, he's skeptical, really responds to celebrities and people that he trusts. He responds well to social, but his friends are king. And you can see here again how it influences him, and you can find the issues that might work to basically get Fern to do something. Community action wasn't very much. Green spaces was absolutely his thing. Places when his child was born, he could go to take the child and go for walks, have a kick around with his friends, do all of those things that he felt was the best bits of his childhood. And really interesting for everyone in the audience, justice. So we in the climate movement often say, climate justice or societal justice or fair transition. What I found across the board was lower income people, not just from the UK, but across my research, most across the world, is justice is a very misunderstood word. The lower you go down the income brackets, the more that justice is tied to legal proceedings. So, for example, I chatted to one family who had come over from Barbados, and I said to the mum, what's your opinion of climate justice? And she got really angry, and I mean really angry. She started saying, I think it's completely wrong what you're doing. I think it's terrible. You need to have a look at yourself, and was saying some quite aggressive things because she was so angry. So I calmly said, no, climate justice is about having justice. But she believed, and it took quite a while to stop her from being triggered, she believed that climate justice meant putting people in jail who were trying to fight for the planet. So that was a real key learning for me, that terms can be misinterpreted, jargon can be misunderstood. So what we say and how we say it is incredibly important. And finding the route through that means something to somebody. So, for example, the key issues for Fern was rubbish, the loss of grassroots sports, the loss of wildlife, extreme weather, rich people's impact, hypocrisy, and lazy leadership. I'm not going to spend too much time talking through. I'm using this one example. I'll show a couple of other examples, and I'll show how that was used after there. Then we went to Gallant Jeff, who was an ex-former public servant and worked in the military. And we looked at the type of newspapers that he read. We looked at the type of people he respected, what type of language, how he felt the world should be. And he felt that the Britain he grew up in was gradually being eroded. We again found green spaces was a really key fact for him. We then looked at hardworking Heather, who's a bank manager, and you're going to see a very strong connection across these. And what it is, from the research, we found that across the board, everybody who we spoke to from these income brackets, demographics, they all cared about green spaces. Climate and carbon was triggering one way or the other. And the reason for that is, for example, this person who is Steve, who is a construction worker, a lot of them felt that to be involved in environmentalism would mean a massive reduction of happiness in their life. And they were already really struggling. So we chatted, Stalk Steve was made up of about 7 people. And I was chatting to one of the people who made up Stalk Steve, and he was saying, I've got a 1-bedroom flat. I see my kid every other weekend, and I spend every day just working and preparing and trying to get, trying to basically look forward to that tiny little window where I've got a bit of happiness. I can't stand it. I can't go vegan, get electric. I can't afford it. And as soon as I mentioned carbon and climate, he was instantly turned off and quite frustrated and down on himself. But when I spoke of, what about planting things, life, what about having these animals around? Suddenly he was then oh yeah, I get it, and he said, for me, the climate is about barbecues with my family, beer gardens, having a kick around, all of those sorts of things. This is all just backed up to say we spoke to people of all different types, background, genders, age groups, cultures, and we went out to all of them, and we found what the connecting factor was, which, as I said, was green spaces. So we come up with a campaign called Save Our Grassroots. And the idea behind that was to actually find the places that meant the most, in this case to the British public, and then we took the idea into those places. We found out when those places would be either destroyed, flooded, parched, whatever it might be, from climate change, and we did fun events there. Out those fun events, specifically, what we did is we brought in people from the community, local heroes and just average folks. We brought in environmental CEOs and celebrities and sports people, and we did an event somewhere, and we said, look, let's just have fun. And when we were there, we were saying, by the way, just to say, the reason why we're doing this is this ground we're on here now will not be here in 13 years, for example. And we found that connected far better than anything we've ever done in the past. I'm just going to show a couple of videos. Hopefully I'll stream all right, and then we'll have a go at doing some ourselves. So this is a little video of some of the footage that was came out of one of the events.
Great saves, keeper.
Footballers took to one of the capital's most famous grassroots pitches today wearing welly boots to draw attention to the damage being caused to sport by flooding and climate change.
Join arms. 1, 2, 3. Save our grassroots!
Arsenal legend Paul Merson.
If I wasn't playing grassroots football on pitches like this when I was growing up as a kid, I wouldn't have been a professional footballer.
British people love our green spaces. They're what make us who we are. It's in us, it's part of our heart. We really want to tell the government, you've got a mandate to act here. If you save our grassroots, we will love you for it.
Save our grassroots!
So hopefully that makes some sense. So to wrap up what Save Our Grassroots is and did, I'll show one quick other video. Sorry, I will show one more video, and then I will stop blathering at you.
Grassroots football is really so important.
One of my best grassroots memories was
going down to the local rugby club with my dad,
belting out tunes in the car on the way to athletics club.
Osage School Field in Southgate. I can smell the cut grass.
Being pushed on the swing by my granddad as a child.
Playing cricket with my mates up at the cricket nets.
English countryside, fields and woodlands.
Kicking the ball into nettles, getting nettle stings all over us.
Playing for Elston Park in Leicester.
Walk by the riverside in Pollock Park in Glasgow.
Turning up for games at the park or for my Sunday team, and there was nets in the goal. That was it.
It's what kept me sane. It's only what kept my family sane.
People might think you can't like nature and sport at the same time, but I like them both. They're so connected.
It's truly a wonderful, wonderful place where two worlds come together.
They informed who I am, they guided me, they taught me so much, and I would be a very different person without them.
I'm just gonna get up.
Your MPs have the power to act on your behalf for climate and nature. So please,
save our grassroots.
Save our grassroots. Save our grassroots.
Save our grassroots.
Save our grassroots.
Save our grassroots.
Let's save them. They belong to all of us.
Right, well, hopefully that makes some sense. To give you a little bit of conclusion about how that went, we got an incredible response to it. We had 191 million reach, which was, of course, over double the population of the UK. And what was really, really interesting is we had a lot of right-leaning press. It trended on X for the day. We had press that will literally have in their mandate they will not talk about environmental work. By connecting it to sports grounds and parks and that, they covered it. And that meant that we reached a completely different audience. And since then, I've had all sorts of people, celebrities, sports people, people in the street saying, how can I save my local green space? So what I'm trying to do here is saying how you can take, for this project was getting people to actually understand how climate change will impact them, and you can reframe it around their lives and the things they care about most. Now, before I go into the next bit, is there any questions from anyone? No? Okay, cool. So hopefully you've had some time to think about something we can brainstorm now. So has anyone got any ideas, campaigns, marketing, projects? I can see a hand raised. I can see 2 hands raised. So if someone in the room can point out somebody, because I can't hear.
So our current problem is we have foxes killing our turtles, and we can't get any traction from local or state government to increase the fox control.
So do you want me to talk about what I think a solution to the problem might be? Or should we as a group try to riff what a piece of content might be? I can do either.
Content's good.
So if you're looking at content, who is your audience? Who do you want to hear about this issue and give you support?
So the local and state government, but that could mean the general public, because we're coming into an election period.
And yeah, so if we're looking to affect policy creators and governments and local councils, it's good to think about what their life looks like. Where do they get their information? Where's their source of truth? What's their job? What drives them? So if that was me, what I would do is I would look into who the kind of key decision makers are locally, see if they've spoken out about certain things, see if there's any resonance in terms of things that actually your campaign might align with their belief system or what they want to do. And then I would basically say, make some content that's going to land on their door. So if you know, for example, that they would follow an account, or that they would actually create something, so they would actually read a local newspaper or something similar, get the tone of voice of that thing that they read. Maybe it's a political cartoon, for example. So could you either lampoon the policymaker by having them appear in a political cartoon, whereby you could maybe, again, I'm thinking on my feet here, so apologies. You could maybe look at other things that involve foxes, like other popular things in like children's media, like, and I forget what it's called. There's one from Dick King Smith. There's Fantastic Mr. Fox. Is there a way of using the kind of the fox symbol as a means to parody? So if you're looking for fox control, for example, maybe you could flip it round. And again, I'm thinking on my feet here again. So if, for example, the policymaker has said something about overpopulation of humans, could you flip the script and have the humans represented by foxes and the foxes represented by humans? Then what I would do is I would work out the places where that person gets their information. If it's, say, for example, X, Twitter, then can you post it on there, work with, say, for example, a comic artist or a cartoonist who would actually be the type of person who would reach this policymaker, create it in collaboration with them, put it out there, and then hope that it would actually get through. So I've got an example of one we did in the past that might be helpful to see. Give me a couple of moments. So we had almost the same type of issue. So in the UK, there was a power station called Drax, which the government was funding, the former government, and they were saying it's a carbon neutral power station. But the reason it was carbon neutral was because they were importing old growth forest from Canada and burning them. So effectively, it was a great big lie. So we found that actually the politicians we needed to reach were big fans of political comedy, and they read things like, or they watched things like Have I Got News for You in Britain. They also read certain newspapers. And so we commissioned this to go in a newspaper. And if you can't see, it's someone lighting a cigar that's shaped like a tree with money from the UK government with a little save our planet or save the planet little cufflink. And this got through to the person who's making the decision, and it rankled them because it made them have to look at themselves in the mirror. I don't know if that was any help to you or if anyone else has anything to add. Nope. Cool. Okay, should we move on to the next one?
I've got a kind of idea. I saw we're trying to stop bauxite mining in the world's most biodiverse temperate forest in the world, which is the Jarrah forest. And the bauxite mining looks like the planet Earth, the planet Mars. When they've finished, it's just red dirt. Okay. And when it was this absolute verdant paradise. So I saw a video today of the new rover film on Earth, on Mars, where the rover was viewing the scene of Mars. And I was thinking maybe there could be a transition between that and then the bauxite mine, and then maybe a flash somewhere into what the forest should look like, and the person changing on screen all of a sudden saying something where 1 second he's in the verdant forest and then the next second he's in the desolate landscape of the mine site, saying something like, "This is Earth, this is Mars, let's not turn Earth into Mars, end forest mining," or something like that. But that's just an idea that came into my head, but I wonder if you've got any ideas to shape that one up, or if that would even work.
Yeah, I think it would. This sounds like a perfect example of how you can use a joke as a kind of central part of a campaign. So you could, again, this is me talking from the hip here, shoot from the hip. You could then have almost like you can do a film, or you do a comic, or you do an animation, whatever. A person, an astronaut, looking over what appears to be Mars. You've got a voiceover saying, "We're stepping on this red, arid land for the first time. No humans been spotted here. We dream of finding out what secrets this world had," and so on and so forth. And you go through and you basically really ham it up, so it feels like they're walking on Mars. And then you see someone perhaps putting some dust or some earth into a jar, and then you can go to a laboratory and say, "And then we found this place once sustained life, plentiful life." And then you flip the script, and then you show that actually it was this incredible place full of life on our Earth, and it's nothing to do with Mars. Well, thank you very much. And what you could also do with that is there should be a joke as well that you can have as a caption line. I haven't quite got it in my head yet, but something around kind of outer space or Mars or exploration. There will be a joke in there. But yeah, I think that would work really, really well. And I think it's a fantastic concept. And I'd say when you have these concepts, try and think what might make you go, "Ooh," when you see it yourself. So we've got a few more minutes left. So do we have anyone else?
Hello, I'm involved in a Stop AUKUS campaign. That's the Australia, UK, US. It's about the nuclearisation of our Navy. So it's military, it's political, but it's also very environmental. It is a stupid idea. Stupid. Anyway, I heard at a recent conference we had here that one of our defence commentators, who's not a peacenik at all, but he said AUKUS is about as useful to Australia as a chocolate teapot. Mm-hmm. Now, you let that settle for a minute. I mean, that to me has got to be a T-shirt or a campaign of some sort. You know, imagine the hot water going into the teapot just melting. We really need to get to everybody in the community. Everybody knows it. Actually, former Labor people have spoken out very strongly against this idea, and the government just seems to be intent on pleasing the American military. Now, whether that'll change with Trump's election or not, he might discard it because he doesn't much like international agreements. That's a tiny bit of silver lining that's possible, maybe. But at the moment, we are paying. Did you know that we've already paid $4.5 billion to your Navy shipyards to help with the backlog of building submarines in the UK? Same to the US. So as long as we're handing money over, they'll probably think, well, that's fine. But we want to engage the Australian community to say, bugger off.
Yeah, I think there's something you said right at the end there that I think would be a really good central point, which is they're using our money to do these things. Not on my watch. That's a really key one for me. And there will be something around building, again, it's me thinking out loud. I could imagine that you've got a submarine, and you've got Lego pieces. It's made out of different colours. You could have, for example, a submarine made out of Lego pieces, and most of them are Australian, but you've got like a Great British flag flying at the top of it saying, oh, we're so proud of our Navy, or whatever you want to say. But you've hidden the joke within the drawing. So that could work. And that made sense to everyone. But the visual idea would be to show that actually the construction of the submarines is paid for by the Australian people. Another way, you could have something a bit more satirical and on the nose. You could have the submarine being shown off in Australia to like a very frustrated collection of people who then maybe can't afford a ticket to actually see the thing. And you could then have a little joke around the fact that actually people can't afford to see this submarine that they paid for. There's going to be something in that joke. In terms of the chocolate teapot or the T-shirt, yeah, I think the thing with T-shirts is it's actually very difficult to, I know what you mean, it would make a good T-shirt, but it's very difficult to make a campaign out of them. I tried a few times, and it doesn't always land as well as you think, because what happens is it's very hard to get a lot of people to have those T-shirts in the same place. You could do a stunt. For example, you could have a whole bunch of people dressed up as kind of everyday Australian jobs, and they could take their uniform off and they'd have T-shirts underneath with what you're saying. That might be nice to get the press and the media involved. Nice photo op. I said you could also commission something like a sculptor to create one of these, like a horrendous sort of like nightmare imagination of a nuclear submarine, but all made out of what looks like Australian dollars. And it says something like "your dollars at work." And then, is any of these ideas landing, by the way? Because I can't actually see you, so I can't actually work out if this is actually working or not. Oh, you haven't got a microphone. Okay. Thank you. We've got another 4 minutes, so if we've got another one.
So something we're campaigning on at the moment, pretty big issue here in WA, is an extension to an existing gas processing plant. And the key decision maker here is our state environment minister, who doesn't care about the environment and has essentially said something along the lines of, we can't live off of green grass and honky nuts. So he's quite hard to engage with. So I'm keen to hear your ideas when, I feel like a lot of the messaging we've been trying to use is, the climate impacts, or think of in 2070, like this guy's going to be dead. He does not care.
Yeah, one that jumped into mind is somebody on a life support machine, and the life support machine could be powered by gas. So he's literally pumping gas into this person, and you can have one of those, DNR, do not resuscitate, and it sort of says, you know, do not switch off until 2070, something like that, and say that he's being kept alive by the gas. That would be a good way of attacking the person. Oh, thank you, guys. And if you wanted to have a campaign, it'd be really interesting to know, who do you think this person would listen to? What sort of, where do they get their information from?
Fossil fuels companies.
So I actually can't hear if somebody's answered that question.
Fossil fuel companies.
They get their information from fossil fuel companies. And so they're being bought off, effectively. Is their position, have they got a safe position within government? Or have they got quite a lot of backlash against them?
Yes, lots of government.
And is there another a person who is opposed to them? Like, is there basically, like with the Trump and Harris election, it was like Trump versus Harris. I just wonder if there's another person, because there's that whole thing in America. I don't know if the term translate of like gassing someone up. You can actually make a campaign around basically this other person and lift them up as a way of pulling the other one down. And I wonder if there might be something in a campaign of getting as many different voices from as many different types of people as you can, a little bit like the Save Our Grassroots video, and then putting them together as an attack on how outdated, how unimaginative, and how corrupt this thing is. And then you can use that as an asset that can go across social media and different outlets. And you could do something. I'm just trying to think. There might be something with gasworks and the piping and sort of like weightlifting. This kind of like old spindly dead guy. Yeah, I've got a few ideas, but I might have to percolate on them. By the way, anyone in this room, by all means, if you want to contact me, I'm happy to keep thinking about these ideas and helping in any way I can. I'm on every form of social media you can imagine, just under Paul Goodenough. And also my email address is really simple as well. It's just myname@gmail.com. So if you want to, after this, if I haven't quite nailed it, I'll keep thinking and more than happy to try and help after. I realise we've gone over by 1 minute. I'm so sorry, everyone. And I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you. You've been absolutely wonderful, and I love the ideas, and I really hope to see them out in the wild sometime soon.
Thank you very much, Paul.